Sure. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first and my first Ask Kathie Anything question seminar. I am the new Center Director for Polaris MEP. I am working on day 7, so be kind. Previously, I was with the Mass MEP. I was there for almost 22 years. I had started in January of '99, and I literally grew up in the company. So I started as what was referred to as a networks manager, and for the past almost 3 years, I was the center director. A little bit of background on the MEP centers, if you don't know, there's an MEP center in every state. We are part of the Department of Commerce, which is part of the NIST system. MEP, and like NIST, it's a measurement system, and we are measured by the services and the work that we do within manufacturing companies. And just a little bit of background, you may think, even though geographically the states are very close, why the switch after 22 years? And for the same center director to center director, my family has always thought about moving to Rhode Island, and this opportunity presented itself, so I wanted to jump. And I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of, you can see the artwork behind me. That's actually from an artist out of Providence. I wish I could remember her name, but we bought it at a pop-up, one of the tents at the water fires about 3 or 4 years ago. And it was a reminder and a dream to move closer to the beach. So this is part of that step.
Excellent. Thank you, Kathie. I appreciate it. Well, we've got a bunch of folks coming in, but we do have a little bit of a ringer. And that's why Evelyn Garcia of Cooley Group has got her video on already, because we figured we'd start with somebody who is ready to ask a question and get this going. So here, I'm going to go ahead and unmute Evelyn. Oops, wrong one that I unmuted. Great, we've got Leslie queued up in our next going through. And there we go. Evelyn, fire away. What did you want to ask Kathie today?
Well, make sure to mute me again after my one question, because you know I can keep going. But hopefully you don't find that out today. But my name is Evelyn Garcia. I do marketing and communications for Cooley Group, and we are based here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I may not have mentioned this otherwise, but the e-blast that we received from Erin about this event mentioned your, the work that you did with partnering Contolo with a company and a manufacturer for the medical grade gowns. So you brought them to us. So we've actually collaborated unknowingly before that. And thank you, of course. Rest assured you have fans here already. But what you were mentioning, and you touched this on this a little bit about how, why after in Massachusetts so long coming to Rhode Island, with the Contolo being a good example of the interconnectivity between Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Now that you are doing, supporting manufacturing growth here in Rhode Island, what changes, both good and bad, successes and victories and challenges, do you anticipate for the Ocean State, given the current landscape with the pandemic, the economic recession?
So for those of you that participated earlier today, it was the first time that I heard about it, was the Rhode Island reshoring that's being offered by the state. So I thought in Massachusetts that we had a strong support from the state. And then I came to Rhode Island, and every time I turn around, there's another state initiative or another state program that is here to help manufacturing. The state here offers many, many opportunities for companies, and not just manufacturing, all types of companies. The pandemic has impacted every aspect of companies, whether it be hiring people, doing the supply chain, all services within companies. And I was listening to one of the Providence Chambers with Stefan today, and they were talking about the resiliency in Rhode Island and how that's coming back. And they were saying that they are ranked number 2 in the country as far as returning back to work, which I think is phenomenal. And it's true attribute of the state and the support that the companies have received from the state. But I also think it has to do with the companies and the resilience of New Englanders. I think the New England states in general, we're a hardy group, and we've recovered from recessions before, and we will again. I think that manufacturing is on a brink. is in this pandemic has just fast forwarded that a little bit. But I also think geographically, we are positioned in the Northeast to work very closely together. And the Contolo example is a perfect example. For those of you that don't know, the story behind it is there was a mill in Franklin, Mass, that a group of entrepreneurs, and literally entrepreneurs, decided that they were going to start up this company. And it came about as a conversation that they were located actually in Pennsylvania. One of them knew of the facility and the equipment that was in the facility, and they said, hey, we could make gowns. We could make gowns, we could make masks, we could help with the PPE. This was a conversation that happened at the end of March. They reached out to their local legislator, who was very close with Mass MEP, and he reached out to us. And just coincidentally, because of the network of the MEP systems, Mary Johnson had said, we have a client who has medical grade gowns. Does anyone have a company that could use the supply? And I immediately got in touch with Mary, connected her with Contolo, and Contolo then with Cooley. And now they're making medical grade gowns. The last number I heard was off the charts, and they're looking at opening another facility. And I know that they're working with Cooley Group on innovative fabrics, and they're starting to work with the manufacturing institutes as well. So the beauty of the MEP centers are that while we work within each state, our companies don't. And so because of the connections that I have between both Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and starting to learn more about what's available in Rhode Island, I can best match the two states and the collaboration between the two states. So I think that there's a lot of synergy, and there's already a lot of work going on between the two states. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for Rhode Island, and I'm excited to hear more about what the companies are doing here.
Excellent. Thank you, Evelyn.
You're
And
welcome.
to add to what you were saying, it moved very quickly. You said it was a mid.
Oh yeah.
And within days, we were sending out samples, and we were talking to, I was fortunate enough to work with Peter on the marketing materials also, because they just needed information about the material we're making the gowns with. And it was, I hate to use the word exciting during that time that we were also scared and so much uncertainty, but also rewarding in that we knew we were helping to meet a need that was just so dire at the time nationwide. So that's exciting. Thank you so much. And again,
No, thank you. Thank you for helping. I have not met Peter. I have only talked to him on the phone, and he's just such a fascinating and the true spirit of an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Like he gets it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And again, welcome.
Thank you.
Evelyn, thanks for starting us off with such a great question. I really appreciate it. And since we were talking about kind of cross-state connections, one of the nice things from our next questioner is that we have somebody who's definitely a familiar face to you, Kathie. Leslie, you want to go ahead and pose your question?
Sure. I'm Leslie Parody, and I'm the Workforce Development Manager at Mass MEP. So Kathie and I worked together for almost 15 years. Right now we have a grant along with Rhode Island and Florida to work on something called Human Capital Barometrics. You may have heard Lindsay Brickle a couple of hours ago during her presentation. We are trying to put some ROI to the training that the really small manufacturers seems to struggle with, that there's a metrics issue. But my question, Kathie, was how can we work more collaboratively together between Massachusetts and Rhode Island now that you've crossed to the dark side?
It's not the dark side. It's a little bit brighter with the ocean.
I know.
So we've already been Lindsay and I have already been talking about some opportunities, but there is an electric boat grant, and this is an example of where the MEP system may look at the boundaries in the sense of Polaris is Rhode Island, Massachusetts is, Mass MEP is Massachusetts because of our mission, but our companies and our clients don't. So the national network is strongly working towards them working closer together. And I sit on the center leadership team, and bringing that branding and that messaging across the country, that there's a supply chain out there that doesn't look at boundaries and we can look closer together. But part of that is the supply chain and the workforce that then ties into each other. And Lindsay has a grant that she just got I think last week, for CNC training and positions for that, and bringing Rhode Islanders back to work. So there's definitely some collaboration that's there. There's also some collaboration regarding the electric boat program, and they're looking to hire 10,000 people in the next 10 years because they're looking at 3rd and 4th graders now as their future workforce, which can benefit all manufacturing companies because, you know, they have the big money to put behind it to help us promote manufacturing at the schools and at the grade level. So there's definitely some collaboration opportunities there. And it is a tri-state effort. It is Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, which ties into the whole electric boat supply chain, but can certainly benefit the entire manufacturing ecosystem in the 3 states.
Well, I hope Rhode Island knows how lucky they are to have you, and we will miss you.
Thanks, Les. Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Leslie. I really appreciate that. All right, so for those of you who are wondering why I have shifty eyes, I'm looking at my other computer at other questions as they come along. So here was one really serious question for you, Kathie, so I hope you're ready. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, Snickers, without a doubt.
Well, there went that idea of cross collaboration. The next question is, do you have a favorite Rhode Island beach yet?
I do. It's Second Beach in Middleton.
Oh, nice. So you've started to explore the shoreline already.
We are, yep. That's always actually been a favorite, but there's a lot that we haven't gone to, so we're starting to venture out a little bit more as we try to learn more about different areas.
Excellent, excellent. So for our next question, I'm going to go to Matt Zimmerman with Far Sounder. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how are you, everybody?
Do you want to pose your question to Kathie?
Sure. In Kathie's introduction email that we received the other day, you were asking about if we had questions about particular programs or if such programs exist in light of new COVID reality. And my question is specifically related to that. So my company manufactures pretty sophisticated equipment sold almost entirely outside the United States. And we really rely on a well-trained dealer network to do commissioning and service of our equipment. And so we typically hold a yearly or sometimes twice a year dealer technician training program here in Rhode Island, which is 1 day in the classroom and then 1 day out on a boat actually using our equipment. And we obviously can't do that now. And in fact, we had our last training program scheduled for the beginning of April, which we had to obviously cancel. So we're now working on converting that live training program into a web-based online class. And my question is, are there any resources available to help support the costs of developing these types of programs? I'm not so much interested in a grant to hire some company to make videos for us because I think the level of effort we need to transfer knowledge to them, we can sort of do that effort ourselves, but I'm talking more specifically about like buying the tooling, you know, a lighting setup or a better camera, backdrops, stuff like that. And again, I'm not talking about building a television quality studio, just something to really lend an air of professionality to the materials that we'll be developing in-house.
So Matt, when I started, I said I'm on day 7. So let me look into this. It's not something that I'm immediately familiar with, but we do have a couple of great project managers, and Kayla on our staff works with a lot of our third parties. So what I can do is connect you with her, because as you know, I think we all know this virtual world isn't going away anytime soon. So this could possibly be something that comes up for a lot of our other companies as well. So it's definitely something that we should look into. But what I can do is I can have, Kayla's done a fantastic job with our third parties and connecting our clients and our third parties. So she may be a better resource than I am at this point, but I will definitely connect the two of you and make sure that we get an answer to you.
That'd be great, thank you.
But,
Erin,
you
is
know,
there anything that I should have added?
no, I think that
Okay.
I could say we kind of feel very similar to what Matt has experienced as well, because, you know, you did this at Mass MEP. We've been doing this at Polaris MEP, trying to convert our own delivery of programs and services so that we can do it, so we can honor the safety protocols that our manufacturers have put in place, so that we can deliver education in a different world. So I was going to say, Matt, not only does Kayla work with our kind of wonderful specialists from outside of Polaris MEP, she is our internal specialist. She's been helping us create what we're jokingly calling Studio 315, only because our numerical address is 315 Iron Horse Way. But we are using that to deliver programs that were only ever in person before, like job instruction training, job relations training, the whole training within institute series. So we definitely understand what you're saying, Matt, about having this wonderful resources internally, but giving them the tools and training to bring it to a global audience. So thank you very much for that question. That was an excellent one. All right. So the next question that we have from somebody is, what gets you excited about working in Rhode Island?
So everyone has just been so welcoming, and the collaboration here between all of the partners, and I think it's the beauty of a smaller state. Everybody knows everybody and everybody's friendly with everyone. You know, I'm constantly, between the emails that Erin has sent out and the emails that Christian, the president, former Center Director for Polaris, has been copying me on, everyone has been very welcoming. But I love manufacturing. And I'll be honest, I've never worked in a manufacturing facility in my life, but it gets me excited. I love going someplace and being like, our clients, oh, our clients made that, and our clients did this, and oh, did you know that this is a new technology that they're coming out with? And a small story, when I was in Massachusetts, one of our clients was 47 Brands, and anyone that is sports related, they make most of the professional teams and college teams, and it became a big joke in our family that we couldn't buy a baseball hat or a sports t-shirt unless it was 47 Brands. And I honestly think my teenage daughter used that to get several baseball hats and several t-shirts, because she's like, Mom, we're supporting a client, which is what I like to do. I like to buy local. So I'm excited to learn about what's being produced in Rhode Island, meeting the clients, meeting the companies.
Yeah, I admire her both brand loyalty, her commitment to buying local, and her ability to get what she wanted.
Yep.
I mean, she's a triple threat there, you know, if we wanted to keep going. All right, question for you, which is regarding the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council certification. This is a program being incorporated into middle and/or high school. And the person wondered if you had an opinion of that. I confess that's something completely new to me, so I'm excited to be educated about it.
It's something that I've heard about, and I know some schools do use it and some schools don't, and there's a preference to it based on the schools. I don't have an opinion either way. I know that there's several accreditations out there that are recognized nationally. There's that one, and you know, it depends on the school and the school system and what your preference is and what you're looking for. But it is something that I've heard about.
Absolutely. Interesting. So many different things going on. It's really extraordinary. All right. So here was a question that was actually submitted previously. I don't see the person who had asked it originally, so I'll see if I can kind of summarize and pose it to you. Maybe you can share some of your thoughts. And this was from a small woman-owned industrial manufacturer who had actually been working with Chris Sanieri at Polaris MEP because they were identifying melt-blown material resources. So this person writes that there is a shortage, which I know has been covered actually in Providence Business News and a variety of places, of the melt-blown material manufacturing. And the question was, if we were going to purchase equipment to manufacture melt-blown material, the major obstacle that we are facing is funding. Are there new funding programs that could help them do this?
So great that they're connecting with Chris, and I met with Chris last week, and we talked a lot about his work within the supply chain and the supplier network, especially within the national, as it relates to the national network. So I don't know about funding opportunities, but I can certainly look in and find out if there are, and make sure that Chris connects back with her related specifically to that question. But what an innovative way of thinking about moving this forward, because there's going to be a need for the medical gowns. And if there is a gap in the supply chain, a lot of companies are going to want to be reshoring their products and their vendors, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to get into a new market. So congratulations to them on thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and put in the chat function for the Zoom meeting a link to that supplier scouting kind of overview, because I think that we've got both the video and some other information on it that might help people kind of going through. All right, so the next one is, how well do you really know Rhode Island?
So I know parts of it better than others, and we're learning a lot. We've started exploring and going outside of our comfort zone in our familiar places. So I'm open to suggestions. If I scheduled one-on-ones with staff and asked them to recommend a place, because that helps me learn what other parts of the state are.
Yeah, you did tell me though, you already have a favorite Rhode Island restaurant?
I have a couple. So it depends. For a quick bite, we tend to spend a lot of time in the Newport area. So we like Becky's Barbecue, right in, I think it's in Middletown. But I'm not sure about the exact location, but it's this house and it's great barbecue. So if we're looking for a quick bite, nothing fancy, that's where we tend to go. If we're looking for like an anniversary dinner, we love being on the water at the mooring. But I will tell you that when I was doing the one-on-ones with the staff last week, one of my coworkers brought me to Rhody Hen, or Hen Rhody. And what a great story. I love that she brought me there. It's a breakfast place, lunch / kind of place. It was started by a husband and a wife team, and they're all about farm to table, which I think is great. And they work with a lot of the Polaris MEP clients. So I thought that was a great experience.
Well, that is a nice way to kind of tie it all together. Yeah, that's one of my favorites for breakfast places.
Is it Rhody Hen or Hen Rhody?
I believe it's Rhody Hen, and they have, really
I
great
apologize
feel
for
to it.
messing that up.
I don't think that they're going to hunt us down on this one. I'm pretty positive you're safe on that one. One of the questions that kind of was being posed was, you mentioned that you never worked in manufacturing. So this person says, if you didn't work in manufacturing, how did you fall into manufacturing extension partnerships?
So I'm dating myself, but I actually applied for an ad in the paper back when ads were posted in the newspaper. I had just gotten my bachelor's degree and I was looking for a new job, and I didn't know where I was applying. It was a PO box. I had no idea. So I went and I applied, and within 10 minutes, my mentor and friend, Jack Healy, actually hired me. He knew, based on my resume, he knew some of the people that I had worked with, and I had never met him, but he knew some of the people that I had worked for, actually. And so we had a great conversation, but it was literally within the first 5-10 minutes that he offered me the position, and then we talked for another 2 hours. And I worked for him until he retired in 2016. And then it was shortly after that I became the Center Director.
Fun, super fun. All right, so the question that I just received was, can you tell us a little bit about your priorities now that you are at the Rhode Island MEP Director?
So my first priority is to get to know a little bit more about Rhode Island and what the needs are. Erin has actually been great. There's been a bunch of marketing research that she sent me and that she's learning. If this was normal times, I would be out daily visiting companies, but unfortunately, we're not in normal times. So I'm trying to schedule as many Zoom meetings or lunch and learns basically as I can. But it's to bring our services to as many manufacturing companies as we can. And that's primarily been the way the conversation. What are the gaps that the clients need? How can we help service them? And how can we bring those services to our clients as well as our partner services? I'm a big supporter of our partners and the collaboration between what we do and what our partners do, both third party and associations. And it's how do we best get that message out there? I've been talking to the project managers about what they feel the opportunities are for the companies within the state, because they know it better than I do, obviously. But we're learning a lot.
Yeah. So I would have a follow-up on that, because I know that you're a big believer in an open door policy, and we kind of talked about that in the email that we sent out. So Zoom and phone calls and all the rest are going to have to be your virtual door for a little while, it sounds
Absolutely.
like.
And it's open. I finally figured out how to do signature on my email. So my cell phone's on there and it's open.
And also have mask will travel, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. Have mask will travel.
So that's great. Well, we've got two more questions, and one is kind of a fun one. Any pets?
I do. I have a 14-year-old dog. He's a rescue dog, and he is my shadow and a great friend, but not the most cooperative coworker.
He's
So
being
I'm
very
looking forward to
quiet right
getting-
now.
I'm sorry?
He's being very quiet right now.
My husband has him outside.
So you had to get your other office worker to take care
Yep.
of. I understand, so that's a good thing. So the next one is a little bit more serious, which is you sit on a national leadership committee. Are there things happening in other states you think that Rhode Island could learn from?
So I do sit on a national leadership team, but I also sit and facilitate the New England or the Northeast, we call them the Northeast node meetings. And we've just started those up across the country, but they're more regional because there tends to be more of a cluster, especially with COVID, that tends to happen more regionally and the impact on the states. So we actually started meeting about once a month, and actually Thursday is our next meeting, and it's an opportunity for the centers to learn from each of the other centers. One of the things, we had our national call Monday night, last night, and one of the things that I learned was that California is a little bit further ahead of us as far as these go. They've been doing it a little bit longer. They've started bringing together the centers related to certain services and industries. For example, they bring their cybersecurity, the cybersecurity folks that are within their states that are meet about once a month as well, to talk strictly about cybersecurity and what we're doing. We're already doing that in the Northeast because of the OEA grant, but that's an example of how we learn on best practices from other states. I know in Rhode Island, the control plan, because states were further along with the COVID reaction than we were in New England because of how everything was progressing. I kind of like it hit the West Coast, skipped the middle and went to the East Coast. So like New Jersey, I know Rhode Island used some of the work that came out of New Jersey related to the COVID control plan, the virtual training, the marketing, that piece of it we've learned from all of the other centers. So it helps us know what's going on in the other parts of the state.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, kind of, especially around cybersecurity. You mentioned, I don't know if a lot of people know, we're part of something called NERDIC, which is the New England Regional Defense Industry Collaborative. And so that is all state MEPs, a lot of different folks going through. So neat to think that that could be around other specific service areas as well. So I think I saw Jordan Krause pop on and pop off. And Jordan, I think you had submitted a question ahead of time. Let me see if I can find that, and we'll make you the last question of the day. Jordan, do you want to go ahead, and you've got you unmuted. Do you want to go ahead and pose your question to Kathie?
Oh, I just wanted to introduce myself and familiarize myself with Kathie. I worked quite closely with Christian and Polaris over the last few years. We've done some grants and some other things. I actually didn't realize it was going to be an open forum like this.
Well, we like to put you on the hot seat, Jordan, because we know that you get into so many of our different sessions that you can handle it.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Okay. Well, I think
Hi, Jordan, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
I think that then is all that we really have time for today. I'm just going to look and make sure that we don't have any other questions that kind of have come through. But no, I think you've answered all the big ones. Folks, this is definitely not the last chance to reach out to Kathie. Kathie, how would you best suggest people get in touch with you so they can continue to ask you anything?
So my cell phone is 508-523-5498. Feel free to call anytime. And my email address is kmahoney, KMAHONEY @polarismep.org.
Excellent. And as always, the entire Polaris MEP team is ready and waiting to talk to you guys and help you think through some of your challenges and help match you up with some solutions. Kathie, thank you to you. Thank you to everybody who joined in today and posed really fun questions and interesting ones. And we look forward to keeping this dialogue going.
Thank you for organizing this, Erin, and nice meeting everyone.